Good afternoon. My name is Stella Natufe, and I work for the City of Chicago Department of Business Affairs and Consumer Protection. Welcome to the BACP Business Education Workshop webinar series. We have adapted our regular business education workshops at City Hall into these webinars until further notice. On behalf of our Commissioner, Rosa Escareno, I want to inform you that business licenses can be processed online by visiting chicagobusinessdirect.org. If you are a part of the BACP Entrepreneur Certificate Program, you can get credit for joining this webinar by sending an email to bacpoutreach@cityofchicago.org. If you want to learn more about this program, please visit chicago.gov/business education. To help guide your business and employees during Chicago's reopening process, please visit chicago.gov/reopening. Also, BACP and the City of Chicago's Office of Emergency Management and Communication created Shy Biz Emergency Alerts. You can opt in to receive targeted emergency alerts for the business community. If you are interested, please visit chicago.gov/Shy Biz Alerts. We like to encourage all of our attendees today to ask questions. Please use the chat box and send your questions to all panelists. There will be a Q&A session at the end of this presentation. Today's webinar is entitled Media Basics for Small Businesses, presented by Ms. Lilia Chacon, who was our former Communications Director for BACP. At this time, I'll now turn this webinar over to Ms. Lydia.
Thank you, Stella. Hi, everybody. My name is Lilia Chacon, as Stella said. I am a former communications director in City Hall at BACP, and I also worked for the city treasurer. And before that, I was doing TV news for 20-some years. So the tips and kind of inside info that I'm going to share with you today, I've seen from both ends. I've seen it as a reporter with people who are trying to get me to cover something near and dear to their hearts. And I've seen it also as a communications professional, where I'm trying to put the best possible spin, trying to get the message of the city and the commissioner out to people in a way that's understandable and positive. So go ahead and send me questions as we go along. Oh, that's a great picture. That's from 10 years ago. I hate to set your expectations too high, but that's kind of my little, the rundown for today's event is going to be how to get coverage for your small business or your service, how to be newsworthy, how to become the go-to person in your area of expertise, and how to manage your look on Zoom. We'll have a lot more on that. So the point of this exercise is how to look good, sound smart, and boost your business. So you're fighting to get attention in a very crowded marketplace. How do you cut through the clutter and get your message to the right audience? Nothing will boost your visibility and your credibility faster than being included in a news story, be it TV, radio, print, podcast. There's lots of different ways that you can be part of the media landscape. What we're talking about is earned media. These are not commercial spots. You're not paying for the privilege of being on channel XYZ or being interviewed on the radio. Although there's no doubt that with some of the glossy magazines in town, the Michigan Avenue, the social magazines, it does help your chances of being considered for a business profile when you advertise with them. So let us start with some of the basics. Click. Do your homework. This is your life's work, your business. It's not going to be easy, but it's going to be worth it. And you're going to ask yourself, who's getting the kind of coverage you want? Are these your colleagues, your competitors, your vendors? Do you read articles and say, oh, I know them? They're, they're people that you have rubbed shoulders with, or they're in competition with you. How did they get this coverage? Get familiar with the players, including politicians. By this point, all of you should know who is your neighborhood alderperson, your congressperson, and what kinds of issues are they tackling. They're going to be making decisions that affect your businesses, your neighborhoods, your quality of life. And frankly, when they talk, people listen. So it's good to be on the same page and understand and be a part of the conversation. You can't join in if you don't know who they are and what they're talking about. So that would be step one. When it comes to the media, you're going to have to become an educated consumer. Get to know the reporters' bylines, the people who cover your area of expertise. Familiarize yourself with the trends and the topics that are being discussed. Follow the newsmakers. All of these people have a social media presence, whether it's on Twitter or Instagram. And very often, when you follow them, you'll get a follow back. You can weigh in on their most recent stories. You can follow the kinds of stories that they cover, and you can tell them that you're able to help them with a future story, and then explain to them what you would be bringing to an expanded coverage of whatever the story is. So a great place to start is with neighborhood. Neighborhood journalism is some of the best journalism in Chicago. I hope you're all aware of Block Club and Chicago Public Square. They provide a roundup of local news, along with TV stations like WTTW. They do a Week in Review, WGN morning show. They do Chicago Zone. They do Around Town. And these are all chock full of personality profiles, business profiles. In addition, the business coverage on things like WBBM, I think they still have a business radio hour at noon. Cranes covers all kinds of Chicago business, including real estate, construction trends. WBEZ does a lot of local news. You can certainly see the kinds of topics that they cover. Again, it's all online. It's all on your computer. Telemundo and Univision, Spanish language TV, again, neighborhood driven. And they do a lot with businesses and consumer issues. Don't forget the bloggers and the podcasters who cover everything from charity events to social society events. And even BACP, Commissioner Rosa Escarena, when I was there, one of the things we did is we launched a podcast. And we would, I don't know if they've started up again after the pandemic, but she would interview a variety of entrepreneurial types, people who've walked in your shoes, a variety of different kinds of businesses, but it added diversity and interest. So don't forget your podcasts. A lot of people are getting their daily news from a podcast that they listen to, maybe working out in the morning, they're on a treadmill listening to the radio or a podcast. So these are all Chicago voices that feature local entrepreneurs and tackle local issues. And remember, the reporters can't be everywhere. Think of yourselves as additional eyes and ears for them. You know this stuff, and you're in a position to tip them off to things that are happening. So that brings me to become a source. Let's see, did we get through? When you spot a story on a topic that's familiar, go ahead and send the reporter a note, send them an email or a direct message. It has never been easier to communicate with the communicators. Tell them you like their coverage. Tell them and give them an example of how you could have added something to their story. You may not get a screaming headline or a profile or a feature story right off the bat, but you will become a part of the conversation. And that is honestly, half the battle is just getting on the radar. Be sure to let them know your credentials, your business name, and for sure your contact information, and include the kinds of topics that you would want to be exploring with them. And don't forget that sometimes these stories have legs. So you see it and you think, oh, well, they've already done that. But there's more. Sometimes these stories develop, whether it's, for instance, hiring trends. We're seeing now with the end of the pandemic, a lot of the hospitality industries, the restaurants, the hotels, they can't find people to work. So that story will keep going. And there may be ways for you to be a part of that story somewhere down the line. So you want to make yourself newsworthy. How do you do that? Well, start by taking advantage of what you already know. And as an entrepreneur, you know a lot. You know what it's like to launch a business. You know what's selling, what isn't. You know if prices are up or down. You are watching the kinds of population shifts or shopping trends that are happening in the woods. But you do have to be up to date on your facts. If you give a reporter bad information, they won't forget and they won't use you again. You have to be good at what you do. The issues of the day, we talked about supply chain issues, hiring shortages, price hikes, and the post-COVID economy. How are they affecting you? Have you moved your business online? Have you had to pivot? Are you working differently than you were in 2019? I think all of us are. The fact that we're here on a video call instead of in that conference room at City Hall is proof that we are. But these stories continue to develop. Nobody knows these stories better than you do. Be sure to explain your business bona fides, how you know what you know, how it relates to their viewers and readers and listeners. Include links to your websites, and remember that you're selling yourself as knowledgeable, trustworthy, informed, as a market expert, and as a problem solver. And at least one of the problems you're solving is for that reporter. You're helping them understand the news of the day, and you're helping them put a local spin on it. So that local spin is one of the ways you create a news pet. Every day there's going to be stories that give you an opportunity to weigh in. Everything from holidays, it's Christmas shopping, or it's Father's Day with great people stories, even Chinese New Year. I'll tell you, I was doing PR for a local artist, very talented painter named Mark Yi. And we pitched him and we got him on WGN's One of Chicago's Own. And he had been painting a series of Chinese war horses. It was clay, beautiful sculptures that they buried with warriors. This is 1,500 years ago. But his series of paintings, they were beautiful enough, but he went the extra mile. He talked about celebrating the Chinese New Year. It happened to be the year of the horse. He made, I don't know what, dumplings or something for the reporter. Anyway, turned into a great story because We found the news peg and we sold it. So there are stories on the economy, on pet ownership, on childcare. If they're already doing stories that you want to be part of, pitch them your angle. So the events around the world, even if it is the Suez Canal, the China trade war, these things are affecting your supply chain. Certainly the pandemic has affected your hiring processes, assuming that there's employees. I know some of you, it's just you. It's your business and you are it. So you wanna put yourself on the radar. So how are you going to do that? First of all, you want a contact list. These are the reporters, producers. The assignment desk is kind of the clearinghouse for the whole newsroom. And based on, you can imagine they have to allocate their resources, what reporters covering what that day. So they are unlikely to respond to a phone call unless it's breaking news. So you will have to put your idea in writing. And that means you have to make up a list of who you're going to send the emails to. Who are you going to contact with your idea? Well, you're going to have a pretty good picture from watching and listening the kinds of places that you want to be featured, whether it's a radio interview, maybe it's Windy City Live. You need to find out who's making decisions there, who's covering. And their social media presence is often a great place to familiarize yourself with the beats these people are covering and the best ways to contact them. So this is a hard step, but it's absolutely essential. It's the hard work of getting yourself out there with a targeted message that targets the right people. So Google is an amazing ally. All of these different stations and mastheads, all the different print people, you can see who's covering what. So you can target your pitch to the people who are most likely to respond and make good use of it and least likely to be irritated by it. So we don't want to irritate them. So before you even think of contacting a reporter, and when we say reporter, the guys, as we're talking about anyone now with an access to your phone, a laptop, a blog, or a camera can be a reporter, a citizen journalist, because that's the way journalism is going, and particularly now post-pandemic, we're again, a lot of us are just used to working from home. So before you do that, think about what you're going to say. This is your pitch. Make it to the point. Make it succinct. Make it memorable. And ideally, you're going to have maybe 3 message points that you want to get across. I hope that those of you who are veterans with BACP programs all have an elevator pitch, a 30-second, boil it down, tell me what it is, and leave me wanting more. Something that is sticky and makes you stand out. So what are you trying to get across? Remember, these reporters are not making a commercial for your business. They're looking for news, and you want to be part of that news. What is your target audience? Is it other consumers? Is it other business people? What would success look like to you? Would it be a higher profile among your peers? Would it be increased sales that you can actually track back to this coverage? And who is getting the kind of coverage that you want? Are they your colleagues? Are they your competitors? Are they your vendors? Keep an eye out for these people's names and keep track and literally keep a notebook. Take notes, Write this stuff down. What outlets are they on? What time is the show on? You don't necessarily have to live in front of the TV or with the radio on, because you can find all of this stuff online. So ideally, you will have your messages ready to deliver. You want to pitch it good, just like salt and pepper. You want to push it good. What are you trying to get across? Do not make the reporter or the producer or the assignment editor scroll down to figure, what is this about? What are they pitching? Start right in the subject line. Tell them what it's about. Is it your charity? Is it your business? Are you expanding? Are you closing? Are you moving? And hook them with people stories, things like neighborhood rallies around fire victims. 3 generations of bike repairs keep Englewood rolling. I'm just making these up, but it's a great idea. There is a bike store in Englewood. New eateries create destination dining in Humboldt Park. This is a funny thing. There is power in groups. It's like one lone restaurant out on a street might not be a big deal. But when you have 3 new restaurants, cafe, now you've created a destination, and you can kind of group that up and pitch it. When I was at BACP, we did a thing with the Ravenswood breweries. It turns out there were like 10 or 11 breweries, distilleries, brew pubs, all kinds, all in this one geographic area. And we were able to pitch and generate coverage for all of the people who were involved in this business. And it's the kind of coverage we might not have been able to generate if it was just a one-off, but it really worked when we talked about it being a destination. So if you have an actual event that you're selling, it's a car wash, it's a rally, it's a memorial, be sure to put the date and the time in the subject line, because a lot of times these things will go directly to the assignments editor, and from there to whatever show is on at that time. So your weekend show, your morning show, and include the who, what, when, where, why in your email. In fact, that's not a bad way to organize your pitch if it's about a specific event. Just margin left, who, what, when, where, why, explain what it is, and you're already organized. So one way to create memorable content is to make a listicle. And you've seen these. They are the top 5 reasons for anything. So in this case, if you're a contractor or a carpenter, it's the top 5 reasons your new deck is going to cost more. The 10 biggest mistakes people make when buying a car or whatever. These are the kinds of things that you know about because you're living them. I just saw a great list with a woman, Michelle McBride, and it was another listicle, but this one was about her failures and comebacks. And that reminds me of don't forget your failures as a great source of an interesting story. There's real value to the hard lessons that you're learning as you bounce along in business. We did a BACP expo, and one of the keynote speakers was a gentleman, Josh Deeth, with Revolution Brewing. And I'll never forget, he listed the mistakes he had made: expanding too soon, buying too big of a building, thinking that they could serve food. And when it did fail, it forced him to analyze what they were doing right and go back to the basics. And they're still in business and they're still doing great. So don't forget your failures as a source of an interesting story. And it makes for, it makes you a good guest. It makes you a good guest when you're doing a TV business interview. Um, the bad stuff that happens sometimes really leads to great stories. One more story about bad stuff. Stephanie Hart, who has Brown Sugar Bakery and has been expanding and is a force of nature on her own, talked about when her store got broken into and they cleaned her out, but only one specific kind of cake. It was the caramel cakes. The bad guys made off with every single caramel cake in the store. And it it was a bad break, but it generated so much interest because they were so specific in what they were going to steal. And of course, now everybody wanted to taste the caramel. So don't forget that bad news is sometimes a great news hook. So if you're pitching TV, make sure you can put the V in TV. What does that mean? It means you have to think visually about what the story will look like. If you're a bakery like Stephanie Hart, what's in the background? Are there people cooking? Do they have flour all over them? What's going on around you? Are there kids or dogs or athletes? Are you out at a cheerleading competition? Are there before and after pics? Maybe you've rehabbed a piece of property and now you're ready for your opening and you want to show people how hard you work to get your store or your shop or everything set up and ready to go. And again, thinking visually, even when you're pitching it, but especially when you're actually doing the story, it's going to generate coverage and viewer engagement much faster than just a dry recitation of the facts. So it's just like show and tell, just like third grade. We love third grade. Okay, nice. There we go. It's odd, it's kind of missing the half of the right, but we know what it says. So be ready when opportunity knocks. And it could be a very early morning call. Reporters are always on deadlines, and they often set up news interviews at the last minute. So the first thing you got to know is you got to be flexible. You may be on a Zoom call. It may be an on-location live shot. Maybe they send a crew out. You might be interviewed on the phone for a radio interview. But one of the things with TV is that morning TV is one of the few areas that's actually still expanding their program. I think it's because the commutes have gotten longer, so people are getting up earlier and they kind of reflexively turn on a TV and leave it on. And so a lot of, whether it's WGN or network, people are watching morning TV, or at the very least the TV set is on. So if you want to be on the show, you've got to be ready to accommodate that early morning producer and reporter. So don't be too hurt if they cancel you at the last minute, particularly if these are soft stories, feature stories, people-driven stories. They are subject to cancellation or delay based on breaking news. Make sure that you are ready with your messages and your supporting materials. Maybe you have statistics, photos, maybe you have a graphic made up. As we talked before about before and after pictures, but good presentations tell stories, and the personal story can really cement your place in this kind of coverage. So some of the stuff that we're all familiar with, and for instance, we used to do at BACP, we would do a press conference. I think the last one I remember is Mayor Rahm Emanuel had banned vaping products. And we had a whole table full of contraband. And we had graphics made up with a number of young people who were experimenting and, becoming buyers of these kinds of products. And so it was more than just the commissioner or the mayor talking about the issue. We were showing them what was really at stake. And of course, some of the more benign, familiar is the cooking demos, the gardening demos, the kinds of things that, add content and that you can be a part of. So that's all trying to get them to come to you. Now, sometimes you're going to be on a video call. Look at that, we're on one right now. This has become a part of everyday life. It is not going away anytime soon. So let's get good at it. There is a lot to cover. First of all, you see, maybe you can see from my computer, the camera or the computer has to be at eye level or just above. It helps. It's like a facelift without the surgery. It gives you a more defined jawline. It forces you to look up. It makes your eyes look open. It's the opposite of what a lot of people are doing. If people can see your triple chins and your ceiling fan turning overhead, your camera is at the wrong angle. It is by far the #1 mistake I see, and I see it at every level. I see White House spokespeople calling in from Nantucket, and it's a terrible angle. So do yourself a favor, at least start with the camera in the right place. Now, in this business, eye contact seals the deal. You've got to look into the camera, find the little dots. And once you are logged into your, once the interview starts, do all your primping ahead of time. Because once it starts, if you start sneaking looks at where you are and how you look, it looks shifty. It looks inattentive. Now, it is okay to glance down at your notes, return your gaze to the lens. People understand when you're working with notes, but don't let your attention drift. And again, you want to have the right angle. Some of these programs, when you actually unmute yourself and participate, the thing goes full screen. And you do not want an up the nose shot. So you want to look good. You want to sound good. You want to sound like a pro. You want to be confident. You want to have a steady delivery. How do you do that? It's going to be your breath. If you can't catch your breath, you will sound flustered. So you want steady breathing, short sentences, and remember that people do not naturally speak in long, convoluted paragraphs. You need to write this stuff out in advance. You need to practice it out loud. And when you're doing your interview, speak clearly, speak slowly, speak loud enough so the microphone is picking you up. And you might want an external microphone. I'm not using one. Things are pretty quiet here. But you can buy an external microphone. Again, there's maybe 30, 40 bucks. You can put them onto your phone or your laptop. But at the end of the deal, you want to have a warm, conversational, confident tone that commands attention. But you're not yelling at people. You're having a conversation with them. These are your friends. they're your allies, they're your viewers, they're your next customers. So practice out loud, and it never hurts to smile, even on the phone. People can talk, people will hear it. Good lighting. Another big mistake people make is they shoot outside. They shoot under the noontime sun. Every crinkle and crease is accentuated. So you don't want any hard shadows. This room that I'm in is soft. There's a skylight. There's just kind of even lighting. Nothing's too dark, too light. But I do have a ring light. I happen to have it right here. Let me show you how that works. These are like, you know, $50 on the internet, on Amazon, and you can put your phone right here, set it up on your desk, and if you're doing the interview by phone or next to your laptop, they fill in the light. They take out the hard shadows. Again, it's like a facelift, only it's just good lighting. So we all want to look good, right? We're not in this to look tired and haggard, at least not me. So the other thing is the background. Really pay attention to what's in your background and assume people are judging. You're judging me right now. So what is that girl wearing? Where did she get those art prints? So what I've tried to do is keep things neutral. Some people have books in the background. If you have books, assume that people are going to read the titles. And so don't have any cheesy romance back there. You want serious, professional books that make you look as smart as you really are. So the idea is to have a neutral, friendly, non-distracting, professional environment for your interview. It's orderly, it's appealing. There's no clutter. There's nothing growing out of your head. So that's the idea. And for a wonderful place to check out successes and failures is on Room Rater on Twitter. Oh my God, you will laugh out loud. I mean, some of these folks really have it down. You can take lessons from the way they've organized their background, but some of it's just terrible. And that makes us laugh because we're mean. That's what we do on Twitter. So hair and makeup, you want simple, natural, professional. You want women, you want a little bit of nude lipstick, nothing too bright, no big red gash that's going to distract people, a little bit of mascara, and your hair for whatever you can do with it. You know, just put it where it's supposed to be. And a finish of neutral powder because cameras really pick up shine. So even the guys, you want to take a little of the shine off. Even the bald spot, take a little bit of the shine off the bald spot. And it's the same thing with clothes. You want to look good above the waist. It doesn't have to be a suit, but a nice blouse or a shirt with a collar, minimal, but quality jewelry. Again, people will get bored on these calls and they will check you out. So hopefully you pass the test. So one of the distractions from working at home is a lot of times you're in sweatpants or you're in your pajama bottoms, but you've got to stay professional. You've got to keep your language professional. You've got to get into that mental state where you're organizing your thoughts and doing a business frame of mind. And whether it's grammar or in the written form, spelling really counts. It's definitely points off for the spelling stuff. So if you have your bullet points written out, rehearse them. Make sure when you do your interview, when you do your phone call, when you're on the radio, make sure you say what you came to say. And a lot of people worry that, well, what if they don't ask me that? It's your interview. You're in charge of it. You will, you can acknowledge their question. Oh, I hear where you're coming from on, XYZ, but here's what's happening in my business. Steer it back to what you came to say. You are in control of your own interview. And that's a great thing. The reason they're talking to you is because they believe you have something to say and they want to know what you know. So don't let a casual setting distract you from the fact that this is a great business opportunity, and don't let a careless reporter drag you off the topics that you came there to discuss. So hopefully all of these things are mapped out in advance, but if they're not, or if they get hostile, not hostile, but what's the word? They want something that's off track. Which, by the way, did anybody watch Kamala Harris with Lester Holt the other night in Guatemala? And I have to say that was a fail. Girlfriend lost her mind. Like nobody ever expected to ask her if she was going to the border. And she just couldn't circle it back. She couldn't come back to what she came to say, which was we're telling people not to come to the United States. So that is basic media training, that you came there for a reason. You came to say what you came to say, and don't let them drag you into the woods. So I have a note to myself to start wrapping things up. So there's 2 points of resistance that I often run into when I do these kinds of media training, and I've done a lot of them, in person and one-on-one. And one is people do not like to write things down. I am a habitual note taker. And in those notes, 2 things happen. 1, I can see patterns. And 2, it's a powerful memory device. It's a mnemonic. It helps you clarify, organize your thoughts, and commit them to memory. It's very helpful to write things out. The other thing, people just don't like to practice out loud. I don't know what it is. If it's they're afraid of their own voice, they don't like how they sound, they think they're going to sound crazy. I think back to when I was in the newsroom and the newsroom was crowded and everybody's on deadline. And you know what those reporters were doing? They were saying it out loud. It was bedlam, but everybody was running through the things they needed to say to make sure that it was pronounceable, that it had a rhythm and a cadence, and their delivery was nailed down tight. I did that with this presentation, whatever results we're getting, and you should do that with yours as well. So you just won't make any progress until you do both those things. Write it down and practice it out loud. They are both key elements of being a good media presenter, commentator, interviewer. So the other good thing, and it's kind of like we're leaving this to the end, but it's the whole point of the exercise. Every bit of coverage, any coverage that you do generate, is something that you can use. You can share it on your website, share it on your social media. It all becomes part of raising your credibility, raising your profile. Now you're part of the conversation. And every one of these articles, every bit of this coverage is accessible on Google. So your social media begins to take on a new life. You want to be part of this conversation. And these are all things that you can use, like I said, to your website and your social. And that is the point of getting good coverage. So, do you have any questions? Did I miss anything? Are there some things I can help you with? Let me see what we find in our chats. See, there's several questions. Hello.
Lilia, look like you have questions. Can you see them?
Where do I see them?
In the chat, or do you want me to read them to you?
Go ahead and read them to me. For some reason, my chat's, there it is. Oh no, I'm finding it. How many are there? Let's see. It says Barbara Easley. Not sure I can fix that. Yeah, the left side of the presentation. Yeah, the PowerPoint was a little funky. It's not your screen.
You have one above her. It says, please repeat the WGN programs that you mentioned.
Oh, WGN, let's see, the ones I remember. Okay, so you know they have the top rated morning show in Chicago. And as portions of that show, they do a thing called Around Town with Annabella Val, and she does all kinds of neighborhood and immersive reporting, and they go live. They take a crew out, she runs around, whether it's the Flower and Garden Show or a new bakery, but she goes out and she does that coverage. So that's Annabella Val at Around Town. And then the other one is a longtime feature on WGN called Chicago's Very Own. And they take a look at things that are homegrown, special interest here in Chicago. And it goes well beyond, you know, just Italian beef. Like I mentioned, the artist, Mark Yee, he is born and raised here in Chicago, a painter, an artist, and he made a great segment for them. So WGN has a great morning show. I should also shout out to Windy City Live. They've been on for 10 years now. They do a great job of covering everything, local businesses, events, issues. They get hard and heavy sometimes with some of Chicago's gun violence issues, but they do a really good job. They're good interviewers, and you will see national celebrities on Chicago TV at NBC. So let's see, I'm still going down my chat questions. There's the other neighborhood online news outlet. Besides Chicago Block Club, there's something called Chicago Public Square. And it is kind of a compendium of all the Chicago news of the day. And they include local and national stories. They cover local business. They do a great job. So all of these are the ways you're going to be able to do your homework. You can go through there and see whose business got a blow up, who's building a new diner. There's amazing coverage, and again, another shout out for local journalism, because the Sun-Times and the Tribune, God bless the Tribune, they're going through a lot right now with reorganization. They've been acquired by a new corporate master. I started, my first byline was in the Chicago Tribune. It was so exciting. So I do hope everyone survives and does well over there. So do I recommend starting a podcast, even if you're a niche business? I like podcasts. I think they are easy and cheap to produce. They lend an intimacy to the storytelling. And it may be a niche, but you can find other people who share your niche or are just curious about what you do. And we did have a lot of fun when Rosa was doing the podcast. I don't know when they're bringing it back, but we had such a variety of businesses. I mean, we had a guy who launched a helicopter tour service come on, just all kinds of different stuff. So yes, I think a podcast is a very personal way to connect with people that is very inexpensive to produce. And God knows the kids are all, they're good with TikTok, they're good on Instagram. So these are the kinds of skills that help generate excitement and kind of get you out in the mix. So is there any, let's see, how should I send a pitch? This is Vanessa Berga. Only through email to the right person, or can it also be done through social media? Absolutely, you can do it through social media. Also, what if I want my business to be considered to participate in a non-governmental organization weekly Facebook Live video? I would say yes, you have absolutely nothing to lose by sending them a pitch. But here's another thing to remember is Twitter and social media have become so ubiquitous and so powerful. And reporters check out social media. Sometimes things, very often things, will make the leap from Twitter or Facebook to the nightly news. One of the things, who was that? Hennessy the cat? You guys had a fire a couple of weeks ago, and a cat jumped out of what, like a fifth-story window and survived. And the Chicago Fire Department, Larry Langford, was smart enough. He saw that video. He put it up on the fire department. So he made it part of their coverage. So that got picked up. My God, I think the thing went national. So it started on Twitter or Facebook and made the jump to network news. So all of these things are tied together, and reporters absolutely go through not just Facebook and Twitter. Here in Santa Fe, they're on Nextdoor, which, you know, a lot of times people griping about loud cars, but really becomes an insight into, you know, what people are talking about. So go to the places where people are talking about it and become a part of that conversation. So yes, you can reach out through social media. You can do a direct message. As I suggested, follow these reporters. You don't have to park yourself in front of the TV all day long. You can see, if you go through the stations, channels 2, 5, 7, 9, 11, and Fox, you can see who their reporters are. You can see what time of day they're on. You can see what kinds of stories they're covering. They will very often post those stories on their own social media. You should follow them on social media. Very often they will follow you back. And it's a great way to get your foot in the door and be a part of the conversation. So yes, this is being recorded. My friends at BACP will let you know where and when that's going to be up. Did I miss anyone?
There are questions in the Q&A. Can you see those, or do you need me to read those to you?
Let me go. Obviously, I'm a highly trained professional. Okay, where are we here? It says these lines. Question, step 5. What is that? Find the news pen. Let's see. Okay, let me start. We are recording. What was step 1? Oh, step 1 was do your homework. So, do your homework, watch the news, figure out who's covering what, and make a plan. And you're very welcome for the presentation. Not sure about the slides. Knowledge and trustworthy. Show that slide again. All right, I can go back there, or I can just read them to you. They were knowledgeable, trustworthy, informed, a market expert, and a problem solver. And as I mentioned, you're not only solving problems for yourself as a business owner, for your colleagues, your fellow entrepreneurs, you're also solving the problem for the reporter because you are providing context and insight into a business world they may not be totally familiar with. So um, those are the 5 bullet points on that. And then Zoom backgrounds or live backgrounds, I absolutely prefer live backgrounds. Even if it's just kind of neutral like this, it feels real, the lighting is real, it's more engaging because it's live. So I think we've seen a lot of Zoom backgrounds that go very, very, you know, you don't want to end up on room where there is a don't. Those old in the Vogue magazine, the fashion don'ts, you'll end up like a fashion don't. So we've covered all our stuff. Anybody else? Stella, are you there? Do you see anything I missed?
Looks to me you've answered everything. I'm just double checking.
Oh, I've got one more. On average, how long does a media outlet keep their past articles available? Oh, that's a good question. And I really don't know. I really don't know. I think, you know, if it's findable by Google, it's there. But if it's not on their website, I actually think by law they have to keep it for a certain amount of time. I was the social media manager here in Santa Fe, and we were required to archive our comments because, as you know, sometimes people don't play nice in the sandlot, and I would have to remove certain comments that were obscene or personal attacks, and I created an archive to save that. So I have a feeling that they have to keep their materials available, if not up on their website, then certainly subject to request. So be prepared to pay for photos, by the way. Photos they come with copyrights. People, it's what they do for a living. You don't want to be stealing content from other people. So, let's see, the question is, do you recommend including short videos displaying your expertise? Yes, that's, if you already have a video of yourself in another story or article, this is exactly what we're talking about. Every little step helps to build your credibility. It shows the reporter or the assignment editor that you are worth a gamble. You're not going to freeze up. You're not going to forget what you came to say. You are a media pro. So absolutely hang on to those videos of yourself, and also look at how other people look. There's a wonderful speech that Bruce Springsteen gave a couple of years ago at South by Southwest. And the theme was steal from the best. And I think that's wonderful advice. If you see people that are doing it right, steal from the best. This is what you want to look like. This is what you want to sound like. This is how you want to connect. Are they using their hands? Are they using props? So incorporate what you can into your own media presence, and absolutely share it with the reporters, and it's like a guarantee that you're good at what you do and you're not going to let them down. And who wants to be interviewed? Oh, Donald. Back in the day when I was a reporter, I was always calling people and asking rude and impertinent questions. So not anymore. Now I'm just here to help you look good and sound smart and get the coverage you deserve. So is that all you've got going on? What do you think, Stella? Should we let these people wander off into their Wednesday afternoons?
I think so. It looks like that's all of them. You answered all of them in both the chat and the Q&A box. Lilia, I think your presentation was awesome. I
Yay,
learned a
yay
I
me.
learned a lot. I hope all of our attendees learned something today. If you are a part of the BACP Entrepreneur Certificate Program, please send us an email so that you can receive credit. Send that email to bacpoutreach@cityofchicago.org. Again, that email address is bacpoutreach@cityofchicago.org. Sorry about the dog. To find out more about our upcoming webinars, please go to chicago.gov/business education. Chicago.gov/business education. And Lilia, thank you again. Any final remarks?
Nope, this was my pleasure. I missed you all. I miss Chicago. Come visit Santa Fe sometime. See you here.
All right, thank you. And you guys enjoy the rest of your afternoon. Thanks for participating.